Boss told me to gain some perspective, so I did and found a new job. I worked as a systems administrator for an IT firm. I got tired of dealing with abusive and angry clients for 5 years. I got tired of being micromanaged and being exploited. I got tired of being talked down to like I was a child anytime the slightest little mistake was made. When my boss learned I was no longer going to work in another market 3 days a week like I originally planned, and he had no one else, because no one wanted to deal with the jerks in that market, he spent an hour lecturing me on taking a long hard look at myself. He said that he was concerned about my reliability after refusing to spend 3 hours a day commuting to the other market on top of my workday. If I can't rely on you to work in the other market, then I just don't know if you have much of a future with this company. I think you need to take a long hard look at yourself and gain some perspective. You know what, you are absolutely right. 2 weeks later, I found a new job and gave my notice. He begged me to stay, offered me more money, etc. This went on for days. I said, no thanks, I finally found that perspective you wanted me to find. Boy, am I glad I did. A new job with a raise in benefits, and no stress. The only advice you've ever given me of value. Good luck to you. He let me go a week into my notice. Started the new job, loved my new boss and my coworkers. It's been over a year later, the former boss hired 6 different people to fill my spot, each lasted 1 to 2 months before they left. Wonder why that is. Maybe he needs to gain some perspective on how to run a company and treat people? That one time my son was sent home because of dress code violation at school. When my son was in middle school, I was notified to be picked up because he was in violation of the school dress code. I asked what the issue was, and on the phone was told, he's wearing a shirt that shows nudity. I freak out and rush to the school, my mind worrying as to what he possibly could have worn. None of his clothes that I knew of had nudity on it. As he gets in the car, I see, violation. He wore a shirt with Bruce Lee on it from Enter the Dragon. When I got home, I called to confirm this was why they sent him home. Sure enough, a topless Bruce Lee's bare chest sent someone clutching their pearls. Apparently, a quick stop to the craft store followed. Using puffy paint, I superimposed a lovely bikini top to cover Bruce's man nipples. He wore the shirt to school again and nobody dared say a thing, lol. Man wanted me to flirt back, so I did carrot. This just happened and I'm still laughing my butt off. I'm a 25-year-old MTF trans woman that's been in HRT, hormone replacement therapy, for 3 years now. Because of this, my body looks naturally feminine. Like it takes people a while to catch on. My voice is softer and it hurts to deepen it. Thesis: important information, I promise. I work as a vendor for one of the major beverage companies. Basically, I go to stores and stock shelves of my company's products. I'm listening to music, a playlist of video game themes remixed, with one earbud in, like aloud, when a mid-30s-year-old man walks over. Wow, girl, you are super thick. Wouldn't mind taking you home with me, he said with a bit too much confidence. I just continue working, ignoring him. He continues, oh come on, don't be like that. I'm quite large under these pants if you know what I mean. Something a sweet SS like yours needs. I continue to ignore, getting embarrassed and very uncomfortable. That's when the music turns to the theme from Halo and he says what I needed. Come oh cutie, say something to me. Inspired by the music, I instantly had a thought. It hurts a lot to do a masculine voice, however in that moment I took a deep breath and turned to him. I looked at him with a very enthusiastic smile. Ondo looks like a kid in a candy store, bouncing Abbott like, oh boy, I actually got one. Going back to my roots, I took a deep breath and in the most deep, masculine voice I could muster I said to him, you're cute as well, sure I wouldn't mind having my way with you. Afterwards I start coughing, my throat hurting, yet it worked. The dude jumped back a good foot and he yelled out, oh hell no. UCK this, nope, hell no. He ran out of the store so fast, constantly looking over his shoulder as if I was following him. The store's workers were laughing their SSES off, mostly all the female workers. One came up to me and asked, how did you do that voice? I could never get mine to sound, oh you're trans. That makes sense. That made my day and is why I'm still laughing in my car writing this. Update. Whoa. This blew up way more than I thought it would. 17k upvotes and over 1,000 comments. Thank you all so much. There's a lot of the same questions and comments, so I'm gonna add a little clarifications here. The reason it hurts so bad is when I do a deep voice, I don't just deepen my voice. I basically sound like the Roach Man from Men in Black, gargling my words. No, not everyone clapped afterwards. That's a lot of people's comments and it confuses me why people are saying that. Again, thank you all so much. This is absolutely incredible experience. Manager wished he hadn't made me come in when I was ill. So I used to work as a waiter, and anyone who is a waiter knows that when you call in ill, they never believe you. They always think you're pulling a sickie. Anyway, one day I'm throwing up loads throughout the night, so have to call in sick at 10 a.m. that morning. 10 a.m. comes, I'm feeling awful. I call Pan, my manager answers. He starts calling me a liar, saying I'm crewing him over, questioning me about what I ate, and then when I said I hadn't eaten any chicken, he said I must be lying because why else would I be sick? Anyway, long story short, he threatens to make my job hell if I don't come in. So it. I went in. We were hosting a big table event and my manager and I were out front presenting the food to the table. It was a fancy restaurant. I have to leave halfway through as I feel ill, and my manager, when he comes to the back, forced me to see him in the office. I said I needed to stay by the toilet. Buddha said no. I had to come. So it. I went. He sits me down and starts giving me a bollocking. After about a minute, my nausea gets really bad. Ilian over and throw up all over him. He looks horrified. I get sent home. Management thought they didn't need me. Turns out they decided to try and sue me. I was reminded of this story, so I figured I'd share, but I'm going to be intentionally vague with the industry for privacy reasons. My post history won't help here lol. Now for some context, this company wasn't new. They had been around for about a decade before I was hired, and as far as I know they're still around, but not sure how they're doing now. When I started there, it was only about 60-ish employees, which 15 to 20 were just hourly wagonobuddies like me. I just had the luck of the draw that my team had 4 managers over my area. I was in a role that wasn't supposed to have any management elements, but turns out not long after I started, 3 out of the 4 on the management team moved on, and I slowly took over some of their responsibilities. After about 6 months, I was starting to feel overworked and I went job hunting. Having listed the responsibility I had with this position got me a management role somewhere else with substantially higher pay. I even got them to let me have a month before starting because I wanted to give a longer notice than 2 weeks to be nice. After I had given my 1-month notice, they were very dismissive of me leaving and acted like it wasn't a big deal. They thought they could spread out what I did among the other management teams. They were so certain that they could handle my job description of responsibilities that they even told me in writing they didn't need a transition period or training and didn't want an exit interview. They even offered me a week early leave with pay because they just thought it was handled and that I was useless. Before that week was out, I was getting calls, texts and emails from higher-ups and HR trying to tell me that I'm contractually obligated to help them transition and that if I didn't, Thathy would sue me for breach of contract. Now the best part of this is that when I was hired, I was simply an hourly employee with no special contract besides the standard employee agreement for hourly workers, but since I had started doing management-level work, everyone had assumed that I was made to sign the management contract, which had a clause in it that required management to work past their notice if the company requested it for handover training or anything the person was working on that couldn't be finished by anyone else. So within a week they were frantically trying to get me to help them, and I had already started working with my new company half a week early, so I was ignoring their calls, texts and emails because I was diving headfirst into my new role. Well, even after the threats, I thought they would have figured out that I didn't sign that contract. About another week later, I was served papers at my new office, and it shocked me, honestly. I read over the paperwork and they were suing me for breach of contract, and it listed a law firm on it obviously. So I decided to call them up and ask them if they had a signed contract, and I was laughed off the phone by the law office clerk. I realized I shouldn't have called them and should have gotten my own lawyer. Just 3 days later, I received a certified letter from the law firm with an official apology for being served and had official documentation showing they dropped the lawsuit, and apparently they dropped that company as a client for unethical practices. I never got another text, call or email from anyone at that company or law firm. It felt nice that I shut down a lawsuit with a single question. I haven't had a sick day in 9 years. For reference, this takes place around 2017, so definitely pre-COVID. I used to work in a training center for a Fortune 500 company. When class wasn't in session, the building normally only had 4 people in it: me, trainee, the boss, and the 2 trainers. I called in sick 2 days in a row because I had some nasty lung infection. On the second day, the boss starts ranting at me about how kids these days have no discipline, and I haven't taken a sick day in 9 years. I tried asking if he wanted me to get a doctor's note, but he was pretty adamant about me coming in the next day. He said that he can decide if I'm actually sick, and he can send me home. I was one of the few women working in that section of the company, less than half everyone's age, and felt like arguing with him about it was a bad idea. KQQQ malicious compliance. That next morning, I decide to not pump myself full of cold meds and just go in raw ogging life. As soon as I walk in the door, the trainers look at me and I say, "I'm very sick, might want to give me a wide berth." They looked at me wide-eyed, nodded, and went to a different section of the building. The boss hears me coughing so hard I'm having to draw that gasp for air like I just emerged from the depths. He walks in and goes, "Oh, you really are sick. You should go home. But I don't understand how you got this sick," and then reminds me, I haven't taken a sick day in 9 years. So I drive home and come back in the next day. The trainers look at me and say, "What the hell are you doing here?" Me, "The boss said that if I'm actually sick, heckin' send me home." They laughed and avoided my section of the building. The boss once again hears me coughing and gasping for air and comes in and dismisses me, and this time tells me that he doesn't need more proof. "I can come back when I feel better." 4 days later, Mr. I haven't taken a sick day in 9 years, was sick with some nasty lung nonsense and W as out for a week. If only he had more discipline. Edit, typo.